All of the earthworms in the UP are invasive species, and my project was used to determine what areas earthworms would be most likely to invade, whether it be hardwood forests with leaf litter or maybe a hemlock stand where there would be deer pellets or eastern hemlock litter, which is harder for the worms to digest because of the tannins and other defensive chemicals in the leaf litter. We also compared different soil types, seeing if sandier or more organic matter affected any of their growth rates, and all this will be used to determine which areas they're most likely to invade.
Our poster competition is over paleomagnetism of Precambrian rocks from around the world and insights to the geodynamo. What we do specifically is look at the magnetism left over when a rock reaches a certain temperature, and we judge it by looking at the direction and the intensity of the magnetization. In the UP, we actually have a very strange thing going on. We have an asymmetric reversal. It's never been recorded before in the history of the world. It happened around 1.1 billion years ago. This could be accounted for by either polar drift or continental drift, remagnetization, but what we believe it is actually a non-dipole field.
Okay, we're the Terraform working group. We are working under the Procom Arts Enterprise. We're researching biochar right now. Biochar is basically a carbon negative process that you put into the soil. It makes the soil more fertile, and other researchers have found that it increases the crop yield by 880%. And we are creating experiments, and we are planning on creating our own biochar next semester.
After ASC's report card came out, America's infrastructure was reported to get a letter grade of D, so we're looking at ways to monitor structural health of concrete infrastructure, bridge decks, roads, and that way it'll give us more of a sign when infrastructure is failing, and it will save more lives.
I developed a concept for a hydraulic hybrid vehicle. The idea is to remove the carbon fiber accumulator from the vehicle and to save space by removing it. I would put the oil and compressed air for the hybrid vehicle inside the frame. I have 3 different concepts I developed. I settled on a concept with 2 high pressure reservoirs and then a low pressure reservoir in between. This is the most efficient design I could find. It removes the carbon fiber, saves the space, and adds about 40 pounds to the weight of a quarter-ton truck.
So I've been working on applying coding to neural electrodes. Neural electrodes currently are placed inside the brain to stop the random motion of Parkinson's patients that they can't control. So currently the probes are implanted and then scar tissue forms around them and they become useless. So we've been working on applying a coating to go over it that is both neural adhesive and drug eluting, so that we could hopefully reduce the size of the glial scar and increase the functionality of the electrodes. So this is an electrode, and here's a good one. We've had problems with cracking because we're coating it with a ceramic material, silica sol-gel. It's bioglass. So to stop that, we've applied a bioadhesive called chitosan, and also we now double dip it so that there's a greater volume, so when it shrinks you can still cover the entire surface area. And so A, B, and C here, A is uncoated, B is just after the second dipping, and as you can see there's a greater volume of material there, and C is after the material has shrunk, and you see a non-crack coating applied to the silicon chip as our fake electrodes.
Well, it has been built for a super mileage vehicle, which is supposed to be very efficient. We basically have a 3.5 horsepower engine we need to work with, and we built the car around it, but last year we had a driver who was turning it on and off manually, and this year we decided to implement an electronic system which would be much more precise in turning the engine on based on velocity, and we have a GPS sensor on the car, and the rest of the stuff go around it, like C code and assembly code that were written for that purpose. And the same method to make predicts our fuel mileage based on parameters we input to the model. And I did all the hardware research for it and the rest of the programming and other.
Acquired a multi-track studio multi-track recorder and been sitting in the basement of the building for about 10 years. And I was given the opportunity to purchase the tape for it to calibrate all the gains, the settings for all 24 tracks.
Every year, surveyors from the Forest Service take us out on a little field trip to explore the corners that were set around 1850. We retrace the steps of the old surveyors and we'll reset a new corner. Now, well, first of all, we use a software to interpolate based on known coordinates of other corners the approximate GPS coordinates of this corner we're searching for. Once we get those, we put it into a GPS, and we go out there, and the GPS will get us close, but it won't get us 100% there. So, using the notes of the old surveyors, showing where the bearing trees are, and other evidence of where this corner is, we look for that evidence, and we measure off it based on what it says in the notes. And then we'll cut a little hole in the ground close to where the corner is, and then we dig. And usually, later surveyors came through, set their own corners there too. So we'll find evidence of that. So like this post right here was probably set by a surveyor who came through later on, and he said this point of the ground there set up over it. This post here was probably set by a forester, and you can tell by the notches on the bottom and how short they are. That is a crooked stick, and he probably just used it when he was documenting trees, and he just needed a general idea of what the survey marks were in the area. I'm pretty sure that this is the original corner set by William Austinberg in 1849 at that section corner. So now that we got those hooked up, we'll go through, set the new corner, and then we'll make new witnesses, new bearing trees, and we'll measure the distance to those. This is a timber scribe we use to mark on the trees. The Forest Service uses them too still. And that'll put the section number, whether it's a quarter corner or a section corner. And then in the notes, we'll put down the new distances, the diameters of the trees.